Self-awareness is having a sound understanding of who you are. So in addition to knowing things like your likes, your dislikes, your strengths, weaknesses, and even quirks, it's also about being able to take a deeper look at the things that you might not be as consciously aware of, like your fears, your desires, your motivators, all of those things that contribute to you having a really good, well-rounded perception of yourself and yourself in relation to the world. And when I say in relation to the world, what I'm really getting at is understanding how other people perceive you. That way, regardless of the situation you're in, you can be your authentic self, make sure that you're communicating in a way that's effective and appropriate for the situation. Self-awareness is really important in the world of work because it allows you to better manage yourself, your emotions, and your reactions so you can build better and stronger professional relationships. It's not about being artificial or, making yourself into something you're not, but it's about recognizing that in the workplace, you're interacting with so many different people and personalities every day. So you need to be able to be flexible and adapt a little bit so that whoever you're talking to, you'll be able to communicate your message in a way that's authentic and appropriate, and that will make sure that everybody is on the same page. Equally important in the job search, and that's because the goal of any job search isn't just to land the job, it's to be successful wherever you go. And in order to do that, you've got to recognize that there's so many different jobs and different work environments out there that not everyone is going to be the right one for you, and that's okay. So to better position yourself to pursue the opportunities that you're going to thrive in, you have to arm yourself with knowledge about yourself, and a variety of things about yourself, including, what environments you're going to thrive in. For instance, maybe you love customer service, but you recently worked in a call center environment and you just cringe at the thought of going back. So even though you know that you're qualified to go back into an environment like that, chances are for your success and for your happiness, you're going to want to steer away from those kinds of opportunities because you're not going to be happy there, which could lead to job hopping or just being unsatisfied. And life is too short and you should be doing work that makes you happy and that you're passionate about. You also want to think about how you come across to others in the job search. Interviews come to mind, for instance. So if you, for instance, know that when you're nervous and you have a tendency to ramble on, having that information about yourself is really powerful because then you can better prepare for that situation. You can practice with a friend, focus on staying engaged in the conversation and using listening skills so that when you go into that interview, you'll, really exude that energy of being passionate about the job and being present in the moment so that you're better positioned to land that job. Self-awareness in the workplace is a lot harder than it is maintaining it in the job search because you spend so much more time in your place of work. But it is still so important because no matter what your job is, there's a good chance that you're interacting with all different kinds of peoples and personalities every day. And if it's not your coworkers, it's the customers you serve. So recognizing that, you've also got to recognize that people have different communication styles, and it's okay, that yours isn't the same as somebody else's, but you need to be able to adaptable so that the work environment is still comfortable and so that people are still communicating effectively. One way you can do that is by paying attention to your communication style and that of others. Pay attention to your body language, the tone you're using, the words you're choosing, even the way you phrase things. Simple things like that can make a big difference between, getting your point across and not quite being able to bridge that gap. You also want to think about, the motivators behind your decisions. We all have reasons for the things we do and reasons for, the way that we do the things we do. And you just want to make sure that when you're making those decisions, you're doing it out of a place of, wanting to do the best thing for the company and for the work environment. So it's just something to keep in mind in your day-to-day. You also want to think about tempering emotional responses. We all have those little trigger points, whether it's certain, topics of conversation or certain quirks that just kind of get under our skin and rub us the wrong way. So you just want to recognize yours and then pay attention to your body's signals, that might be kind of warning you're getting to that point. Maybe your cheeks are flushing up, or maybe you're balling your fist out of frustration. When you acknowledge that, that's a really powerful thing for you too, because then you can take a step back and do what you need to do to prevent it from escalating to a conflict. whether that's distracting yourself or removing yourself from the situation completely. And that way things are still comfortable for everybody and it won't escalate into that conflict, because nobody wants that. You also want to recognize how engaged you are in your workplace. Are you checked in or are you checked out? Because there's no middle ground. And if you're checked in, great, and keep doing the work that you're doing. And if you're not, you've got to take immediate action to correct that, because that can definitely escalate too. And if ultimately you've tried, what you can and it's still not working, that might be a good time to, recognize with that self-awareness that it's time to transition out of that environment. And that way you're still on the path to career success. So thankfully for all of us, self-awareness is something that we can work on and improve upon over time. And one of the ways that you can do that in the world of work is just by making a practice of recognizing body language more, yours as well as people you're communicating with. Maybe you don't realize that you roll your eyes when somebody says something that kind of frustrates you, but for the other person, that can seem really disrespectful and even hurtful. So you want to try to catch those responses and stop them from happening. And if you're trying to convey an important message to someone else, for instance, if you can see the eyes glazing over and it's just not clicking, that might be a sign to you that you need to alter your approach because you guys aren't on the same page. And it's okay to acknowledge that disconnect and try to, reevaluate and then find a way that you two can find a common ground. And you also want to recognize other people's responses to you and to others around you. Are they kind of shifting their bodies away from you when you're talking? Or is there good eye contact? There are all these subtle little things that can be an indicator of whether or not your approaches are the same and whether or not you might need to alter them to find the middle ground. And lastly, my favorite way of improving self-awareness is finding a mentor. Pick somebody in your work environment that you trust and that has your best interest at heart, and ask them to be an ally for you. Ask them to let you know when it doesn't seem like you're picking up on cues in your environment and convey that to you in a respectful way. And then that way you can go back, you can work on that for yourself so that you can do better moving forward. So these are just some, a few beginner tips to kind of help get you started on your journey of self-discovery and journey of self-awareness. And if you put those to work, then I can guarantee over time you will improve your self-awareness, and that will help you be well on your way to career success.